Thank you for staying with us. Now, there is palpable tension across the country over the number of arms looted from the police armory weeks ago. 205 police stations in 17 states were either set ablaze or vandalized during the nationwide protest. But what's more worrying is the fact that a number of looted firearms are in the wrong hands. A committee set up by the Inspector General of Police to assess the level of damage to police formations has raised an alarm, saying that the looting of weapons at the end of the year, when the rate of crime is potentially high, is dangerous. Now, Lagos State has already recorded cases of armed robbery, the latest of which was the bullion van attack last week, where millions were carted away and at least one person was killed. The police are at this time urging those who carted away firearms to return them or face prosecution. Now, joining me to discuss this is security expert and consultant to the Presidential Committee on Small and Light Weapons, Darlington Umoru. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning, my dear sister. I don't know if the morning is actually good.
Right. Why is that?
The security situation in the country now, there's fear in everywhere, in everybody.
Absolutely. Stemming from what we just pointed out, in 70 states, over 205 police stations were looted and the arms in the hands of wrong persons. A lot of Nigerians are living in palpable fear. We see incidents of armed robbery in Ajah recently, and we saw what the papers are recording this morning with regards to the attacks on the Kaduna-Abuja roads. And we're also seeing Edo State, where the governor is also talking about the level of crime rate increasing in the state. From your point of view, how concerning is this development, looking at the time of the year that we find ourselves?
How concerning? You see, a bullion van was attacked. For as much as that operation took place, the police was nowhere. They had a field day, broke open the safe of that bullion van, riddled it with bullets, carted away the money, walked away. And in 1 week, we've had a record of about 4 robbery incidents on that same axis.
Absolutely.
And don't forget that it was on that same axis that the area N was looted and the armory was looted. You also had the police division in Ajah that also suffered. What is the implication of all of this? This time of the year, getting to December, those who looted the armory of the police across the states, what's their intention?
You think it was premeditated?
The NSAS protest was started by a number of persons, youth.
It was peaceful at the beginning.
It was peaceful because their intention was different from what it ended up with. When it was now hijacked with people with ulterior motives. You saw people visiting correctional centers to free some persons. Recently, the IRT led by Abba Kyari made some arrests of some persons in the east who attacked a bullion van in Ebonyi and failed. And then they rushed back to Onitsha and Asaba, where they eventually robbed 1 or 2 persons. And then that robbery incident was said to have been planned by somebody in the prisons in Ikoyi. Somebody serving jail time was the one who contacted all of those who took part in that operation, according to his cousin who was arrested by the IRT team, led by the wonderful officer called Abba Kyari. For goodness sake, we are in for trouble. I think Mr. President must act swiftly.
When you say act swiftly, how do you mean, especially looking at the situation of things? They're talking about, they've called for mopping up of arms. In what ways?
It's not just about mopping up of arms, for goodness sake. You don't just ask people to come submit the firearms in their possession. What do you give them in return?
But something has to be given in return?
Yes, to discourage them from that vice. Now, right now, why I say Mr. President must act and the Inspector General of Police. The police right now are feeling dehumanized. Their morale is down. They are not ready to work. The Guardian reported this morning that several hundreds of them allegedly had dropped in resignation letters.
Which is being rejected.
Of course. It will be out of place for any police force, the authorities to admit or accept resignation of their officers en masse. So what do we need at this time? We need to encourage these men in uniform to go back to duty. To go back to duty, the crime level in the country now is increasing geometrically.
A lot of them say they are leaving, they return, or they have become IDPs, so to speak, when you look at reports. If we are to encourage them to return, there were also complaints of salaries not being paid, and some of them having to buy their uniforms, their boots. If we are to encourage them, these are things that we know are being budgeted for. How do we begin to encourage them, seeing the myriad of issues they have to deal with?
That's the reform we're talking about. Over time, nobody has been able to give us explanations as to why an average policeman has to pay for his uniform. As to why the average policeman has to buy his boots. As to why the average policeman must not be given logistics. You go to a police station to lodge a complaint. What do you get? Sometimes you're told we don't have fuel in our vehicles. Sometimes you're told that we want to buy biro, we want to buy paper to take down your statement. Whose fault? Is it the fault of the policeman in the station, or the fault of the authority who have failed to provide for them? Over time, we've been talking and crying and shouting. The budget for police, what is happening to it? Is it that it's not enough? In most times, the IGP are asked to go to the National Assembly to defend the budget of the police.
Absolutely.
Now, if your budget is not enough to handle all of this, why not cry out so that Nigerians will hear? I said somewhere recently that for people who say the police collect bribe, they collect bribe here, they collect bribe there. In the first instance, it is wrong for a policeman to demand for bribe. It is also wrong for you to give out bribe. But have you looked beyond that status? What is responsible for that? The average policeman in Nigeria leaves Nigeria, goes for international missions, goes to work with the UN, the EU, and all of that. They come out top. I want to shock you this morning that would you know that the police in Nigeria actually trains police in some other countries in Africa. The same police you complain about. So what is the problem? The problem is the system. They leave this system, they go to another system, they do very well. They come back with medals and certificates.
So are you saying that we are seemingly turning a blind eye to see that the system that we have is not working for us and we are not willing to do something about it? The political will to address that is seemingly not there.
I do not really understand what the problem is, but I want to narrow it down to corruption. Beyond the issue of what government provides for the police, there's this special protection unit. It's a unit of the police that protects the VIPs, the VVIPs, some politicians, oil companies, and all of that. Do they pay money? A certain senator at a point in time in this country, who was also a police officer, raised an alarm to demand for accountability of the monies paid by these organizations and individuals to the police force. Who gives account of that money that is paid? What is that money used for? Is it used to maintain the police officers? Or the money is simply going into the pocket of one man?
That's the big question.
Please, you see the policeman on the road. is in the sun, is in the rain, is carrying a rifle, the firearm. Is there to protect you. The statutory responsibility of the policeman is to protect life and properties. How would he be encouraged to do his job? In this circumstance and this system, the NSAS ordinarily was meant to fight for the policeman, the average policeman, beyond wanting the NSAS, the SAS officers to live.
Yes.
Because that's just a unit of the police.
Yes.
And then people are not generalizing. Is everybody in the police force bad? And I made it clear that have we ever asked ourselves why it is not possible for police to go on strike? The statutory responsibility as provided by the Nigerian Constitution as amended. Wouldn't. The moment they leave the streets, of course, what would you expect? Those who are with the illicit arms will take over.
Now, you spoke about police reforms, and you would recall that the president, assented to a police reform bill this year. And a lot of persons were hopeful that that might bring a turnaround to the situation that you have painted now.
I really, ordinarily, if you would allow me, not want to really talk on that police reform bill. Does that bill really capture the essence of what we are talking about? Does it really address the problem with the police and policing? A man who is supposed to go there and receive bullets on your behalf, what's the salary? A man who's supposed to be in the sun to make life easy for you, to discourage the bad people, how is he being encouraged?
So remuneration is a key aspect of the reformation that you are speaking about.
You just mentioned a while ago about their uniforms.
Right.
Uniform, which is not a personal dress. It's not dress for party. That is what will identify them as police officers, isn't it? Are they supposed to buy with their monies? Speak with an average policeman and hear them. You feel for them. You pity them. And then the condemnation is widespread. The youths were actually out for a complete reform for the police, something that will help them, something that will make even the bad ones amongst them in every community. Can everybody be 100% okay? No, you cannot expect everybody, for instance, to behave the same way. If you have some bad eggs, and if you have a good system, you can imagine a former police IG appealing to policemen to come back to their statutory responsibility, to take over what they are supposed to do. They felt, despite the fact that they had, some unit had their own side of the police, they also felt that the way they were treated, because they were told not to do certain things during the NSAS protest, many of them, you saw how gruesome it was. Some of those videos that went viral, how policemen. I spoke with some senior officers, and I tell you, we are in. Mr. President and the IGP must quickly try to address the morale situation of the police now, not tomorrow. Now. Call them. Although recently the IGP has told them to defend themselves if they are attacked, but that's not what they want. That's not what they want to hear. The IGP also said recently, last week, that some policemen are missing. And read what the Guardian said this morning. Is it that those policemen, it creates room for questioning. Is it that those policemen have been killed? Is it that those policemen are somewhere? Is it that they have absconded a war? Is it that they've abandoned? Because if they know that even when they submit resignation letter that we are still like is being alleged,
that is being rejected,
of course.
All right. Now, a lot of things has to be addressed, looking at what the situation is. But the issue of the arms in the wrong hands is something that also has to be addressed right now.
Mopping of arms,
mopping up of arms. And over the years, we have always talked about mopping up of arms. Even earlier this year, there were also talks about mopping up of arms. As it stands, are we being strategic at ensuring that these arms are mopped up? The Inspector General of Police was talking about parents, community leaders speaking to their words to, bring out these arms. But then the issue of the trust deficit is also there, where a lot of persons believe if they just come out to say we are dropping these arms, are you sure that something wouldn't be done to us and all of that, those questions? How do we address this elephant in the room, talking about the trust deficit, to achieving all that we are looking to achieve with the police?
Mopping up of arms has been a continuous exercise. It's been on over time in this country. But right now, what we need, because of the effect of the NSAS protest, it needs to be more, they need to do more. Now, it's not enough to ask those who have arms to come surrender their arms. What do you have in place in return when they give you their arms? Yes, community leaders are closer to the people, talking about traditional rulers and chiefs. In every community, I have often said that the traditional ruler and their chiefs, they know every bad person in that society, in that community. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And then they know those who have acquired wealth that are questionable. And so, in most times, when the Presidential Committee on Small Arms and Light Weapons are liaising and engaging people, they often carry along the traditional rulers. You see, it's an appeal. The society itself has not been able to cater for her people. Even so, it is not enough for anybody to take to crime. The Constitution spells it out clearly what should be done to a criminal.
Absolutely.
And so, if the government, or well, the agency of the government is offering you an opportunity to surrender your arms and then not be prosecuted, of course, you know the Constitution does not permit you to carry arms as an individual.
Right.
Except if you are a state actor. The Constitution does not. But if the community, the government is saying, come drop your arms. But how sincere has the government been? Those they told to drop arms, where many have benefited through the Yaradua amnesty program. But even today, some of them are crying. Those who were sent to the UK, to school, they said they've been abandoned. I don't know how quickly Mr. President is addressing that matter. And then others are watching.
All right.
And so mopping up of arms, government must be sincere, and they must find a way of relating with these people they think are having these arms in their possession, because it's not good for anybody.
All right. We must leave it here now. Security expert and consultant to the Presidential Committee on Small Arms and Light Weapons, Darlington Imuru. Thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you, but before I go, I want to leave a message.
Quickly.
Please, like what happened at the Lekki toll gate, where the military men were shooting into the air. If you find yourself in that place as a reporter, run away.
All right.
Those bullets that fly into the air, they are capable of killing people when they come back. Please, I'll leave it for that. Some other time, I will expatiate on that.
All right.
Good morning.
Thank you very much, Darlington Imuru, for speaking with us. We take a break now.